Astra is the only company that can set up a rocket and launch system anywhere in the world. We also power most of the satellites that are orbiting Earth that are launched by SpaceX and other launch companies.
Could you talk about the state of global launch? What's wrong with it?
Well, I think it's really hard to build a rocket system. And a lot of the companies that build smaller rockets have pivoted to building larger rockets. We have stayed laser focused on building a completely mobile tactical launch system. So we can take our spaceport and our rocket, and it packs up into a shipping container. We can transport it anywhere in the world, and then we can do an orbital launch within about 48 hours.
And what does the current state of the launch market look like if I want to get a payload into space?
Well, if you were to go to SpaceX.com today and put in, I have a satellite, 500 kilograms, I want to launch, you're typically only going to have options to go to one orbit, and I think it's in 2028 as the next flight. So there aren't a lot of options. And if I have a particular orbit I want to get to, then I'm going to be buying a dedicated launch. And a dedicated launch from SpaceX could be like $75 million. And I might have a very small satellite. I don't need a big, giant, dedicated rocket. So what we're really focused on is tremendous amount of capital has been invested in space. You've got all these companies that are building satellites that have different missions, that need to be in different orbits at different times. And we're able to take them exactly where they need to go, exactly when they need to get there. And we can do it for $5 million.
Break down the platform. What does the deployment look like? What does the platform look like?
So basically the rocket packs up into a 40-foot shipping container, the payload and the fairing in another container. We can ship those by C-130, C-17, train, truck, container ship, anywhere in the world. We actually just sent the rocket to the UK. I was just there in London, and we have the system set up there. Many people don't realize this, but in Europe, there's only been one launch attempt in all of continental Europe in the last several years, and it failed. Every sovereign country in the world is seeing SpaceX, and they're seeing Starlink, and they're seeing how strategic and important space is to their national security and defense. Ukraine. Every country wants rockets. There's only about 5 or 6 countries that have rockets. And so we see an opportunity, a global opportunity, just like in the 19th century aircraft. America dominated civil aviation, and now everybody speaks English in air traffic control. Now there are many tens of thousands of airports. Our theory is that, yes, there'll be star bases someday everywhere, but it doesn't start with International Airport. It starts with a small dirt airfield with a Cessna. We're the Cessna that lands in your country, in a parking lot, somewhere in the middle, where we can do a launch basically with zero infrastructure and no investment. So we're talking to literally 3 dozen different spaceports in Europe where we could conduct a launch with zero infrastructure investment. We just show up with some shipping containers, unpack it, do the launch, and we're good.
The space industry as statecraft.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, I think space is here. It's a real industry. The world's largest, most valuable companies is a space company now. And so we're going to see a lot of investment over the next several decades, and we need a global access to space.
And we hear a lot about offshore launch. How are you integrating there?
Well, I mean, think about you're launching from an offshore platform. Are you going to start with a giant rocket where you have a giant launch pad at Cape Canaveral? No. I think we could go and set up some containers on that launch platform. We're talking to all the companies that are doing this. We're a logical first place for them to start. And launching offshore is a lot easier because rockets are loud. And if you can get the rocket offshore, you're going to be further away from people that are going to be annoyed with the spaceport. So it's good.
What are some unique use cases from customers thus far?
Yeah. One of the things that I'm really excited about, aside from just the incredible surge of demand from commercial satellites, is today drones are so important and strategic to national security. So we saw a bunch of drones cross the Russian border and take out a third of their strategic bomber fleet. Imagine if you could take drones and put them anywhere on Earth in 45 minutes. You just hit a button, rocket launches. There's a re-entry vehicle that could maybe go thousands of kilometers off the trajectory so it doesn't look like you're starting World War III. But now imagine you have millions of drones in thousands of rockets in hundreds of locations, and those locations aren't spaceports. They're just places with a bunch of shipping containers. And there's probably 100 million shipping containers in the US alone. So we can hide spaceports in plain sight in Walmart parking lots, in any seaport space, any port in America. We can pull out some containers, set up a spaceport, and we can do a launch. So that kind of thing it's beyond just a offensive capability. It's a deterrent. right? So if your adversaries know that you can replace a satellite on demand, if your adversaries know that if you're attacked, you can put millions of drones anywhere on Earth in 45 minutes from potentially hundreds of locations, potentially from dozens of allied countries, then you have a new vision for projecting American power in the 22nd century, rockets, AI, and drones. So I'm very excited about the dual use aspects of this technology. You've got commercial companies building commercial satellites, communications constellations, broadband connectivity, mobile device connectivity. Then you've got military applications that could literally transform the entire way we think about the military's $1 trillion budget.
Distributed nodes of spaceports.
Exactly. Yeah, and they're dynamic. I think was it Winston Churchill said, "Fixed fortifications are monuments to the stupidity of man." You don't want to build fixed fortifications. You don't want military bases. If you look at our budget, you've got hundreds of millions of dollars a year that go to just maintaining nearly 1,000 military bases all over the world so that we can project power. Imagine if you could project power in under an hour anywhere on Earth with drones. It's another way. It's another tool in the toolkit.
And in terms of your production, could you break down manufacturing, how you're building this out?
Yeah. So one of the things we thought about from day one is this is not a reusable rocket. You're not going to put thousands of reusable rockets in shipping containers. You want this to be very inexpensive. Like we have to mass produce the rockets at scale. So in much the same way that a fab for a chip, like a microprocessor, is expensive so that the chip can be cheap, or like an aluminum can. Billions, literally with a B, of aluminum cans are produced every day. They're really cheap. They cost like pennies. It's because the money went into the factory that makes the can. Astra put many years into building a rocket factory, a rocket fab, if you will. So the rocket is produced at scale very inexpensively. So you either, to make space access inexpensive, you either do what SpaceX is doing, build the world's largest rocket and make it reusable as many times as possible, which is right, or you have to build a rocket fab. You have to make the factory produce the rocket out of aluminum with a manufacturing process that uses automation and robots so that the rockets are so cheap, right? And if you think about a Cessna aircraft, it's maybe a several $100,000 thing. Well, if we can deliver 1 ton of payload on a machine that costs a few $100,000, then we're a few $100 a kilogram. And I think that's the vision that we have, is scale rocket production to the point where you can achieve the same economics that a large reusable rocket achieves when operated at scale.
Astra Space, thank you for the time.
Yeah, and we have a rocket factory in California that can produce hundreds of rockets a year. And the current rocket, our 4th generation rocket, is produced on that production line. And it's about to launch.
Thank you.